Happy Thanksgiving and welcome into another edition of Talkin Ducks. A lot to get to, including Oregon getting a gritty win at home over Utah. What does it mean for their upcoming game against Oregon State? Quite possibly the biggest matchup between these two schools in 13 years. We'll let you know. Also, we'll take a closer look at Bo Nix. Does he still have a chance in the Heisman race? And then we'll let you know Oregon's chances of possibly making it to a Rose Bowl. Let's go ahead and get to the opening drive, brought to you by Les Schwab Tire Centers, where they've been doing the right thing since 1952. And let me welcome in the guys. Joey Harrington with the mashed potatoes, Anthony Newman with the green beans, and Aaron Fentress, of course, bringing some pumpkin pie from the Oregonian. And fellas, let's take a look at this game at Utah, because this was a very gritty bounce-back victory for the Ducks after being humbled at home by the Huskies. Back and forth, low-scoring affair. It was ugly at times, but Joey, the Ducks get the win. Bo Nix on one leg, and they're still one step closer to a lot of goals that they can accomplish this season.
Yeah, absolutely. I do have to make a slight change. I would call Aaron Fentress the turkey.
Thank you.
That's just, that's just, I don't know. Anthony, I think you and I are on the same page on this one. Definitely a turkey.
Unsolicited holiday attacks. I don't understand.
Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. I think that Oregon did what they needed to do. I mean, if you go back a week, we were literally talking about the potential of this season just falling off a cliff. If Bo Nix doesn't play, the question you tossed to all of us last week was, does Oregon have a chance if Bo Nix doesn't play? And every single one of us said no. Like the opposite trajectory of what could have happened, they completely avoided. Now, was it pretty? Was it a high-scoring, Bo Nix, high-flying affair? No. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because at this point, you're not playing for style points, you're playing for wins. And another win puts you into a place this week against Oregon State where you still have every goal in front of you. So it was ugly, it was dirty, but it's a win. And that's all that matters right now.
I agree. I didn't think that Oregon would win this game unless Bo Nix were completely healthy and dual threat Bo Nix, stationary Bo Nix. I didn't give them much of a chance. And offensively, they did about what I thought they would do. But defensively, they stepped up after a bad game against UW. So credit to the defense. And so you got your emotional leader and your quarterback coming back playing on one leg. You got your defense learning from the previous week and stepping up to help carry the offense in many ways to win this game. And so it was a complete team win. Good to see them bounce back from what was a pretty devastating loss against UW with so much on the line, but they showed a lot of character against the Utes.
It's funny, people are calling it an ugly game. I loved it. 2017. The
defensive guy's like, that was amazing. What are you talking about?
Defense is playing well, and the defense came through for Oregon. And, hold the Utes to 17 points? That's outstanding.
Hey,
I know.
Anthony, did the defense get better? Did the defense get better?
They got a little better. They got just good enough to win a football game and win, and beat a very good football team.
They held them to 10 points.
Yeah, yes, correct. Exactly. 10 points. So you're balling out for the defense. And the defense needed that. And we talked about this in the last show last week that, Bo Nix needs a supporting cast. Everybody had to step up a little bit more. And on the defensive side, they did. They stepped up a lot more. And it was nice to see them playing up front, in the middle, and in the back end.
All right, don't go anywhere. We're just getting started on this edition of Talkin Ducks. When we come back, we'll hear from Dan Lanning and also Bo Nix after just one season at Oregon. Has he achieved legend status? We'll let you know when we come back. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for our legendary moment, brought to you by Abby's Legendary Pizza. Let's listen in on Dan Lanning and what he had to say after Bo Nix's legendary performance last weekend.
I can't say enough about our quarterback to play in this game, after being banged up, really having limited practice reps. And obviously that was certainly newsworthy to everybody else. But for him to go out there and have a gutsy performance was really important and special for this team. The guy's got heart, cares about the game, cares about his team, and I think it shows in the way he plays.
So, Joey, you've been a part of and have seen many gritty performances by Oregon football players over the last several decades. But what Bo Nix accomplished with the stakes that were at hand in this game, capitalized by that quarterback keeper at the end of the game to really ice it, where does this sit with you? How impressive was this performance by Bo Nix?
I mean, I would have a hard time finding a more, let's say, holistically impressive performance, right? I mean, I was having this conversation with somebody this week. I think of, I don't know the specific injury. What's Bo dealing with specifically? But I think of when Reuben Drones was trying to stay in bounds, to ice the game against UCLA, steps in awkwardly, breaks his ankle, tears the ligaments off, goes to the sideline and tells Chief, tape me up, and comes back in and carries the ball twice more. Like, that is one of those moments where I think, oh my God, this guy is tough. But Oregon ended up losing that game. Reuben, was only 2 plays. This was an entire game that kept a season alive, right? That the stakes around this and what he was able to do for such an extended period of time, right? He could have come out and taken a shot in this, early second quarter and been done, right? He could have come out and, not felt quite right and not been effective, and then they had to put Ty in. Like, there are so many different scenarios that could have played out, but for him to be able to go from start to finish, and like you said, that keeper at the end of the game, when they were having the discussion on the sideline and saying, hey, you're going to have to keep one of these for us to ice it. And he said, give it to me. Like, let's do this. Like, that's the type of leadership. That's the type of, what's the term, the coach term, Anthony? Intestinal fortitude. That's you say exactly. The guy's got guts, right? And that's the type of stuff that solidifies legends. He did it for an entire game, and he did it when the season was on the line.
Well, hey, let's give credit to the offensive coaching staff, Dillingham and those guys. I mean, the game plan or the scheme for Bo Nix, it was incredible because you didn't see Bo Nix getting out the pocket. You didn't see Bo Nix rolling. He was in the pocket, the ball was out. The ball was out quick. Utah likes the blitz. They want to get after the quarterback. They didn't have there was no time to get to the quarterback because the ball was out. So Bo didn't have to run. And give credit to the offensive line of doing a good job of blocking, giving Bo enough time to throw the ball so he doesn't have to scramble. The running game wasn't big. Utah did a good job of containing the run. But, those little short passes, little bubbles and hitches, those are like running plays. Chris Hudson had 9 catches, and they're all like bubble plays or slants. But hey, the next thing, it's 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4. So it's a great scheme for the offense. And I maybe Utah might have been surprised by that a little bit.
For me, trying to think back through the Rolodex of my mind covering this team, like LaMichael James played a lot of games injured. I'll never forget Dennis Dixon trying to play on a torn ACL, right? And rushing for a touchdown. And then, of course, he cut on it and fell and couldn't go anymore. That was still amazing, even though he didn't finish. But in this situation with Bo, it wasn't a spectacular performance. He didn't throw for 350 or 5 touchdowns, but he was really good. I mean, 287, great efficiency, a touchdown pass, and he kept the offense on time. And it was obvious that he could not move as well as we've seen Bo move. He only carried the ball once, and then he was sacked once. He had, I think, -3 yards net when this is a guy who was rushing for about 50 a game and 1.3 touchdowns per game. So he knew he was limited. The offense knew he was limited. Utah knew he was limited, but he still did enough to get it done offensively. And aside from the stats and the execution, just his presence. And this was a guy the week before when he got injured, he's hopping around the sideline, get me in, coach, get me in the coach. I mean, that alone gives you chills, right? And then the fact that all week you're wondering, is he going to play? Is he not? What's he going to be like when he does? For him to play and be out there and perform the way he did when we know that the backup option probably not ready, they probably lose that game, was huge. There's no doubt about that.
All right, Aaron, I'm going to kick this one back to you. Bo Nix, he's going to play just one season at Oregon. But where does he stand in the all-time legendary pantheon of Oregon quarterbacks when you look at the narrative that he changed around himself this year and the way that he guided this season? Is that cemented now, or is it going to still take a few more wins in the result of the postseason to really finally see what Bo Nix's legend status will be in Eugene when he gets done?
Okay, so for me right now, he has a lot of work to do. I think there'll always be the legendary moment when he came back from the leg injury. I think people will remember that, but you got to close it out. I would never even think about putting him on par with recruited quarterbacks who played multiple years at Oregon. I'm not going to even come close to doing that. We could run through the list. It's a great list. As far as transfers go, I'm not going to put him on par with Akili and what he did, or even Masoli and what he did before Laptop Gate. Even Vernon Adams. Vernon Adams is an interesting situation because he didn't quite close the deal because he not his fault necessarily, but he got hurt against TCU, and we all know what happened after he went down, right? But Vernon Adams, my goodness, what he did as a transfer was definitely legendary status. I think Bo needs to close this out, at least with getting to the Pac-12 title game. He doesn't have to necessarily win it, but if he can be a guy who came in after transferring from Auburn, put together a great season and got this team to the Pac-12 title game, I think that would cement him as a legendary transfer who had some great moments in a lot of ways because it was a big mystery. Before the season, there were a lot of people saying, we want Ty, we don't want Bo. Bo sucked at Auburn. And that narrative changed in about a month. So, yeah, I think definitely he's going to have his place in history, but nowhere near the recruited guys and not yet on par with the Masolis, Vernons, and Achilles.
Anthony, you want to chime in on this? I'm going to wait for just a second. I may close up if you got anything here.
I'm just saying something. I mean, I'm surprised a little bit how he's meshed with the team. How he's played so well with the team in 1 year. I mean, that's 1 year. I mean, is that the trend now? You go get a quarterback for 1 year. He's a vet. I mean, that's what's going on across this country, and it's working. But usually the quarterback takes time to understand the offense and takes time to mesh with the receivers, the offensive line. And Bo did it. He's doing it within a year. The season's not over. So I like Aaron said, you got some time. We'll see what happens. Get to the Pac-12 championship, then maybe it's a different conversation.
Okay, so I don't know that I would put Bo in the category with Masoli and Akili because both of those guys were junior college transfers with multiple years to play, right? So, and nobody would say that Reuben Drones is not an all-time great running back at Oregon because he only, because he was a junior college transfer and only played for 2 seasons. I do see what you're saying about just the one season, like the comparison to Vernon Adams. What Vernon did was pretty spectacular. But then at the end of the season, things fell off. And like you said, he didn't close the deal. I think if Bo can take this team to a conference championship, can take this team to a Rose Bowl, I think that he has to put himself into a certain level, right? Because there are all these pieces that are built in. The guy who was cast off, I think it's a really good story, right? The guy who's cast off from his hometown school, the place where he was supposed to be the second coming, to resurrect his career, to get hurt, to then, Willis Reed his team to the win against Utah. And should this continue through the Pac-12 championship and a Rose Bowl, I think that there is absolutely a place for him. What I will say, though, that I think people aren't quite... Doesn't he technically have another year?
He does.
Couldn't he technically? I mean, this is why I wanted to go last, Anthony, because I've got a feeling. I don't know. The way this season has gone, the way that he and his wife have embraced the community in Eugene, let's think about the way that college football has changed in NIL and you're able to compensate players, right? If someone says to Bo, hey, the NFL comes back and says, you're going to be a 4th-round pick, and all of a sudden he has an NIL deal in place that compensates him in a way that, and maybe he can improve his draft. I don't know. We may be having a different conversation after next season. I'm just saying.
You're 100% correct. I mean, that absolutely could be a thing. And I think it's going to all come down to his draft grade. Like you said, if it's 4th or lower and Oregon's going to cough up a mill, maybe you come back. If not,
Anthony, you got a spare mill hanging around?
I think if it's 3rd round or higher, you got to go because a 3rd round quarterback is going to probably get at least $8 or $9 million guaranteed. So I think you got to go and start your pro career. Why play? I mean, you're not playing for free, but you're not playing for the same amount of money, and you also risk injury. And can he play? I mean, to me, I don't know what he's going to do next year that's going to elevate his stock necessarily. I mean, the stats for quarterbacks can be extremely overrated in college. Scouts see through that. They don't look at your stats and go, oh my God, look at the stats. I'm going to draft that guy. They look at your talent. And I think his talent is on display. I don't think that's necessarily going to change that much. So it'll be interesting to see what his draft grade is and what Oregon tries to compensate him with to try and lure him back for another season.
All right, stick around when we come back. Anthony gets a chance to gush about this Oregon defense that certainly bounced back, including Bennett Williams, and break down his performance when we return on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. It's time for some excellence on the football field, presented by Ferguson Wellman. Ferguson Wellman taking a disciplined approach to investing in Anthony Bennett Williams. How about his performance against Utah? Earns Pac-12 Defensive Player of the Week honors and really was just a force to be reckoned with in that secondary. How important is his play to this Oregon defense if they want to continue to try and achieve the goals they want to get to? Because that clearly wasn't the case against Washington, and you saw the difference when Bennett Williams plays an A-plus game.
Well, he's so important to the Oregon defense, and I think that's what's so great about in-season football is that you have another game to prepare. You have another game to resurrect your problems from the last game, to deal with adversity and bounce back. And coaches always say it's always the next play or it's the next game. Bennett Williams is a stud. He got beat a couple times against Washington, and he's human. Everybody gets beat. And people are talking about, wow, Bennett Williams got beat. What kind of coverage was he doing? What about his angles? Come on, people. You guys are non-coaches, non-players. Quit talking about that. It happens.
It was a bad
football.
angle.
What's that?
It was a bad angle, but go ahead.
Okay. Okay, Aaron. Okay. Anyway,
Oh, man.
What I'm talking about is that you want a kid to bounce back from that type of situation. You want a kid to say, okay, you know what? You got me. Okay, I messed up. Yeah, I'm looking at myself. I'm not pointing the fingers at anybody else. Watch me next game. And the next game, he had a huge challenge in Kincaid. The kid is a top 5 pick, maybe not top 5, top 10 in the draft as a tight end. This guy's going to go early, and he battled. The guy caught some balls. You can't stop great players, but you can contain him. Bennett Williams did a great job. Bennett Williams is another Javon Holland, not there yet, but he's a guy that you could put all over the back end. Safety, middle linebacker, outside linebacker, robber, anywhere. He's that type of player. Cover tight ends, running backs, receivers. He's getting better. Too bad he doesn't have another year because this kid, I like his size. This kid is going to be, I think he's going to play well in the NFL. I really do. He's that type of player.
All right, I'm so glad this is a topic because I know Bo's worth talking about. He deserved to be talked about. But let's be real here. At the end of the day, those 20 points only stood up because of the defense. If the defense had given up 35-40, everyone would be talking about how Bo couldn't get it done because they lost 40-20, right? The defense really made this win happen, and they only allowed 10 points because the offense gave up 7. So who's the star on defense? A guy who plays in the secondary, which has been getting lit up for much of the season, got torched last week. He had a bad game, and he came back this week and was just dominant. To me, that really was a more impactful performance from an individual standpoint than the quarterback, other than the fact that the quarterback's the quarterback. So obviously, there's always going to be more things going on there. But what Bennett Williams did was amazing and a great bounce back story, something that maybe we should have led the show with if we didn't automatically glorify quarterbacks, which we do in the football world. Sorry, Joey. But yeah, I'm with you, Newman. What he did was phenomenal because he took a bad angle on that deep ball down the sideline, and they gave up a big touchdown. But the entire defense gave up a bunch of big plays. They got Washington had 400 yards passing. It wasn't just on him, but his performance Saturday was phenomenal.
So, Aaron, how much better did this defense improve? Because you look at what they did to Utah. They held them to a season low in points, season low in yards. Cam Rising had his worst game of the season. How much credit do you give to the defense, and how much growth have you seen from them over the course of this season?
It was huge. Now, Utah doesn't have the deep threats that UW did. Rising's not the gunslinger that Penix is. And Rising, something was wrong with him. I've never really can remember him playing that poorly. Some of the passes he threw, you're like, what are you doing? But regardless, Oregon put him in a lot of bad situations. They made him have to be perfect, have to be great, and he couldn't do it. And that's what you want to do as a defense, because usually the defense is at a disadvantage to begin with. All you can really do is try and disrupt the QB as much as possible and force him into mistakes. And they succeeded in that. And they did it against a team that handled them twice last year. That's a very well-coached team, a veteran quarterback, and they made them look confused and unsure of themselves on defense. And that's a complete turnaround to what they looked like last week against UW. And like I said before, to me, that game to me was mostly about the defense, even more so than Bo Nix.
Yeah, and I think especially after the week previous, like this, I don't want to say, how would you Oregon's defense, with the exception of the 94 team, has always kind of played second fiddle to the offense, right? They've always been the side of the ball that's been maligned. They've always been the side of the ball that has been the problem or what's holding them back. This week, they truly kept the season alive. You guys have hit the point. Like 10 points, like against Utah, because Bo Nix was not going to carry this team. The defense did. Now, they haven't been perfect this year. It's a new system, new head coach and coordinator. There has been improvement from last year, but you've still seen moments of those, you can call them brain farts, that it's like, man, come on, like the things that you have to fix. But Jordan, you said like the improvement from the start to the finish. If you look at where they were against Georgia and look at the performance they just put out against Oregon State, have to say that the improvement of this group through the length of the season is one of the things that has allowed them to be in the position where they are right now.
Well, guys, I think on any football team, the defense is always the little brother on the football team. And that's why we're so angry and we have so much passion and we're pissed because, we get no respect. And the game is made for the offense to win. So, but
he's even angry right now just saying
Yeah, he's fired up.
No, I'm just. But anyway,
hey Newman, what did you feel like when the NFL started taking away your ability to make contact with receivers? You were fired up, huh?
Yeah, I'm always fired up. But when I look at this defense, we talked about Bennett Williams, but let's talk about the front seven. Let's talk about the D line. Let's talk about third and short. Several times with Utah's running game, the big running back, they can pick up 2-3 yards. It didn't happen. The defensive line was in the backfield, tackles for loss on the other side of the line of scrimmage. That was huge in this football game. And, during the Washington game, we were talking about, well, where's the pass rush? They're not stopping the run. Or there's no run against Washington. But against Utah, you had to stop the run. And Oregon did a good job of containing the run, and they had to stop the run when it was crucial times, third and short. So the front seven played excellent.
All right, when we come back on Talkin Ducks, we'll take a look at what Oregon needs to do to try and get themselves into the Pac-12 championship game. Also, USC, a classic game against UCLA. We'll break that performance down when we come back on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. All right, time now for What's Cooking, brought to you by Sam's Northwest Barbecue, located in Sherwood, just southwest of Portland. Your home for Yoder Smoker products and so much more. And fellas, before we get to the football stuff, it's Thanksgiving. And I know you guys are going to get ready to stuff your faces, or maybe you already have. Any Thanksgiving hot takes by any chance? And I'll start with mine. I'm not a big cranberry sauce fan. I'm going to throw that out there. Not a fan of the cranberry sauce. I know, get your pitchforks and flames ready, but that's how I feel. How about you guys?
Jordan, I'm the same way. I don't do cranberry sauce. I don't touch it. And then my daughter makes devil eggs. I don't do that either. I don't mess with that. No.
I'm not with you on the deviled eggs. Addicted. The cranberry thing. So I'm a very big first impressions guy. And when I was a kid, I thought the cranberry was like jelly. And then I tasted it, and it was nothing like jelly. So I've been soured on it ever since. And every year, it's always there. And I just like, ugh. Yeah, not a big cranberry guy.
But see, here's the question. Are you getting cranberries out of a can, or are you actually getting like cooked, like real cranberries? Like that?
It don't matter.
I wouldn't know.
It don't matter.
It's just,
okay,
looks...
because my wife's family, my mother-in-law does cranberries, like, and actually cooks them down and cooks with like some candied orange peels in them, and like... Yeah, you're not going to be taking spoonfuls of it and put it on like a peanut butter and cranberry sandwich, but next to the dark meat turkey with a little stuffing and a little mashed potato. Yeah, I got to defend the cranberries on this one. Not out of a can, but real stuff.
So here's my biggest pet peeve, though. And it should be against the law. When people try to say, let's do something different this Thanksgiving. Let's not have turkey, let's have X. Hate that, because it's not like you have turkey very often during the year. Most people only have it on Thanksgiving. So why are you going to have turkey lasagna or turkey ham or turkey steak? No, it literally should be against the law to change up Thanksgiving dinner.
That's a good one, Aaron. That's
You're good.
a
I'm
good
good
one.
I'm good with you on that.
All right, so Aaron, you look at USC, and they win a thriller over UCLA, a classic game between these two schools, and they've had some injuries, but they have basically clinched their spot. Well, they have clinched their spot in the Pac-12 championship game. Now, they host a surging Notre Dame team this week, which will be very fascinating. But you look at USC, and coming into the season, everybody talked about how they don't have that great of a line, yet week after week, we're seeing linemen win awards for USC. So between Caleb Williams, Jordan Addison, and what seems like an improved defense, is USC the real deal? Because Oregon has the chance to face them in the Pac-12 championship game if the Ducks can beat Oregon State.
Improved defense? What football is Jordan watching? That defense is horrible. So, look, offensively, they're amazing. There's just no doubt about that. Defensively, though, I think Oregon can beat them strictly because their defense is just not very good. Now, I think Bo has to be back to dual threat Bo. I don't think he can be stationary Bo and beat them, because I definitely think they're scoring 35 plus against Oregon, regardless of what Oregon looked like against Utah. So for me, USC is still the team to beat, but if Bo Nix is healthy for that game, Oregon could absolutely win it because USC can't stop anybody.
Hey, we know it's Thanksgiving, and so I'm giving a lot of love to Aaron. Aaron, you're so right. You're absolutely right. USC has no defense. Until they come up with the defense, and then Jordan talks about they're getting better, improved defense, no. They are terrible. And until their defense improves, no, they won't win the big one.
I ain't saying nothing to mess up this love fest going on between these guys.
All right, we already know that USC is in. For Oregon, once again, those scenarios, beat Oregon State and you're in, or if you lose to the Beavers and Washington loses to the top-ranked scoring defense in Washington State in Pullman, the Ducks are also in as well. All right, don't go anywhere. When we come back, we'll hear from Dan Lanning and talk more about this upcoming matchup against the Beavers. How big is this? What's the threat level? We'll let you know when we come back on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back to Talkin Numbers, brought to you by Par Lumber, and we are getting set for the 126th all-time meeting between Oregon and Oregon State. Oregon owns a 67-48-10 lead in the series, and the Ducks have won 12 of the last 14 meetings, but Oregon State has won 2 of the last 3 games at Reser Stadium. So you look at OSU being 8-3, they're trying to go for their 3rd ever 10-win season in program history. And what does this game mean? I mean, both teams are in the top 25. Oregon State lost to Washington and USC by 1 possession this season. So they're a lot closer to 10-1 than they are in 8-3, in my opinion. How massive is this game when you look at all the matchups we've seen between Oregon and Oregon State? Joey, I know you've been at the forefront of this before. Let's start with you.
What in the world did you just say? They're 6-3 and 147 years and 10-12 and I swear one of those things like 12 out of the last 14, but 2 of the last 3 at Reser. Okay, I'm so confused right now.
Oregon's won 12 of the last 14.
I know that. Back off, Fentress. Is that
I'm
how
just
you
trying
do
to help
it?
you, man.
Newman,
You
is that how
quarterbacks,
do it?
you need help sometimes.
Be quiet, Fentress. Look, we can throw out numbers and stats. Here's the only thing that matters. Oregon State is a good football team. They're an extremely well-coached football team. This is a team that has won 5 of their last 6 games. They're playing. Look, you asked us a couple weeks ago, what's the game that you're most afraid of, right? You're looking at this was with Washington and Utah and UCLA, still left on the schedule. It was thrown out. And I couldn't get past the Oregon State game because when Oregon played Washington and Utah, right? Looking at it, it was a healthy Bo, a dominant offensive line at home. None of those things are in place right now. Bo's not healthy. The offensive line is not healthy. We don't know the status of this group, and we're playing at Reser, away from home. This is an Oregon State football team that has decades of whatever you want to call it built up, with a head coach that is exactly perfect for this program. He has gotten this, and we're playing against the defense. Anthony, you can talk about this. This is the best defense that we're going to see this year. They're number 1 in the conference in rushing. This is the only defense, this is the only secondary in the conference that has more interceptions than they have touchdowns given up. Like, this is an Oregon State team that is scary. The type of team that you do not want to see at the end of the year. And people better be ready for a game against them.
This is how it should be. Like, the years where Oregon State was really bad and Oregon just throttled them, I know a lot of Duck fans love that, but to me that was just not good theater. I want good theater. Like the year, I think it was 2009 when they were playing for the right
for the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily be that every year, because obviously there's other teams in the conference who are going to be in position to go to a Rose Bowl, but you at least want to be where one of them has a chance to maybe go to the conference championship game and the other one's playing spoiler but also playing for a bigger bowl. Like, it's got to mean something to be fun, and my goodness, this means a lot to both teams. Props to Oregon State, props to Jonathan Smith. That hire seemed like money at the time. He's gradually rebuilt this program and got it to the point where, like you said, they have 2 really close losses, and they're going to be a problem for Oregon. I know we'll get into a prediction later, but what they've put together at Oregon State appears to be lasting as well, because they're doing it without the big recruiting classes. They are developing players. They're recruiting smartly. They're filling in with some transfers here and there on their roster. And that thing's built to last. And if they continue to win, maybe they'll start getting some better recruits. And then all of a sudden they really become a problem. But I'm looking forward to this game immensely.
I'm going to be real quick, and it's real simple. 2 weeks ago, we talked about what team scares you that's left on the schedule. And it was Washington, Utah, and Oregon State. And Joey talked about this. I think Joey and myself said Oregon State. Oregon State is the team that scares me. And because they are a good football team, and they play with their defense, and their defense is they'll make you work. So we'll get into that. But this team scares me. It really does. And now knowing what Oregon is dealing with injuries, yeah.
All right, when we return, we'll hear from Dan Lanning, his expectations for this matchup between Oregon and Oregon State, and how concerned should Duck fans be when we come back. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Here's Dan Lanning on whether or not Oregon State is similar to this Utah team Oregon just faced, and just how good are the Beavers this season.
There's some similarities, certainly some differences as well. Both really well-coached teams, right? I think we're playing some of the best coached teams at the end of the season here. I think that shows up. They game plan. They have, they try to create schematic advantages with the way they play. But certainly a little bit more, big personnel at times, 12, 21, some bigger personnel groups offensively that's a little bit different. And then defense right now, they're really rolling. They create some really unique looks. They've incorporated some simulated pressures, that are tough, but they just play really sound and physical.
All right, guys, we just heard from Coach Dan Lanning. I mean, how good is this Oregon State team this year, and how much of a threat do they pose to the Ducks? We saw with Washington, it was really on offense and airing the ball out. For Oregon State, where do they pose the biggest threat to Oregon?
Their offense is dangerous with their running game. I mean, if you can run the football in any game on any defense, you control the game. You really do. And Damian Martinez, the freshman, the running back, he's unstoppable right now. I mean, this kid is a beast, and he scares me because he's going to be around for about 2 more years. Big running back also, not just, elusive, he's fast, but he's big. You have to stop this running game of OSU. If you don't, it's going to be a long day.
The good news, though, is that the passing game is maybe slightly above average with Go Branson there, still sort of growing into that role. So that's good news for Oregon, because that's really been a problem for them. And if I'm Oregon, if I have to worry mostly about the run, which, if a team gets going on you with the running game, it can be demoralizing. But if I can focus on that without having to worry too much about getting gashed in the passing game, I'm feeling pretty good about that matchup as opposed to the reverse.
All right, guys, it's not a matter of whether or not if Bo Nix plays, it's what condition will he be in when he plays. And Anthony, you're very familiar with this Oregon State defense because you're basically going to have one of their members marry into your family someday. But where do you see the biggest challenge for this Oregon offense against this very talented Oregon State defense?
Well, this defense for Oregon State plays as a unit. They play together very well. The front end helps the back end. The guys in the middle, help the guys in the front. And they play as a group. There's no true superstars on this defense. They fly around together. They have a lot of what you call RP, relentless pursuit to the football. All 11s run to the football. They play the pass well. They get after the quarterback, and they tackle well. For a defense, you got to tackle. You got to get the guy down. There's no yards after contact. This defense is tough. They'll do some different things up front, like Coach Lanning said. They'll try to mix you up and get you confused, but they are fast, and they will come after you.
Yeah, Anthony, you're right in the way that they play together. Look, this is a defense that creates turnovers. I said it a second ago. It's the only defense in the conference. They've given up 9 touchdown passes. They've created 11 interceptions. Over their 5-game, well, not 5-game win streak, but 5 out of the last 6, they've only given up. They gave up 24 to Washington. I think they gave up 10 or 11 once or twice. But this is a crew that is holding teams under 10 to 12 points a game. And you consider the 24 they gave up to Washington. Washington's averaging 40 points a game. Like, this is a defensive unit that I may be missing somebody, but I don't think they've got anybody on the hook for the Butkus Award, and I don't think they've got anybody on the hook for any other national defensive players. This is just a unit, like you said. This is a group that plays with the same type of mentality that I'm sure Jonathan Smith has instilled. I mean, you said it a second ago that their running back's a freshman. They got a young quarterback in Gilbranson. Like, this is a team that Jonathan Smith has truly built in his image, right? That the image of those Oregon State teams from 99, 2000, 01, incredible defenses, young running back, an unheralded quarterback that can come out and put things together. Man, this defense is for real.
So at the beginning of the season, most people, including us, looked at the schedule and thought, okay, their 4 toughest games were going to be BYU, UCLA, Washington, and Utah. And all 4 at home. Now we look at it, there's a 5th really tough game on the schedule. I'm not counting Georgia. And this game is on the road. And have we really seen Oregon go out on the road in a tough environment and have to overcome anything? I mean, maybe Washington State. Washington State's tough to play in, so you give them that. Okay, that's one. This is going to be a different monster because I cannot imagine that Oregon State is not going to be given an extra 6 points of adrenaline playing against Oregon in front of, it's a smaller crowd because of the stadium situation, but how rabid it's going to be and knowing what they can do. They can derail Oregon, potentially, depending on how things fall, from maybe going to the Pac-12 title game. They can elevate themselves into a position to win 10 games. And if you go into that situation with a non-dual threat Bo Nix, I think you're in huge trouble. I don't think you get the breaks you got against Utah. I don't think those things happen, and I think you lose. So for me, this is DEFCON. DEFCON 1 is the toughest one, right? I always forget. I watched war games a long time ago, but this is DEFCON, the highest DEFCON, as far as what I'm trying to say. And I think Oregon State's going to bring it. Bo Nix has to be special, or they are definitely in trouble.
Aaron, you just make things simple by just going with the full Michael Scott threat level midnight, right? Don't worry about the DEFCONs. Just go, it's threat level midnight.
All right, when we come back, we'll wrap up shop and give you our picks for Oregon versus Oregon State in the rivalry game when we shut things down on Talkin Ducks. You're watching Talkin Ducks, built by Par Lumber. Welcome back. Time now for our rock solid pick, brought to you by Milan Stoneworks, bringing you the finest stoneworks in the Northwest. So looking at this game, Oregon State Ducks on the road. you've got to look at what Oregon's going to be facing with this Oregon State defense. I don't think the Beavers will have an offense like Washington's where they can just blow the top up your defense and win a lot of one-on-one matchups down the field with the quarterback slinging it all over the place. That being said, I think possessions are going to be a rarity in this game with the Beavers' ability to run the ball and their very talented defense. But my thought is, I think this is going to be a lower scoring affair, to be honest. I think this is going to be very similar to the Utah game. I think Oregon wins by a field goal, 27-24. The Ducks punch their ticket to the Pac-12 championship game, but it's going to come down to the final possession. Guys, your thoughts?
Well, before I give my answer, don't get it twisted. Okay, I never lost to the Beavers. Just letting you know that, just so you understand that.
Oh boy, here we go.
And so for me,
Here
I
we
mean,
go.
it's Duck for life. That's what it is. And you know, I'm always going to.
You can still be Duck for life and lose to the Beavers. Come on now.
No. Wait, listen. Now, I just know the challenge in this football game is going to be hard for the Ducks. It's going to be a challenge, and it's going to be a challenge because all the things we just talked about. We're talking about the health of Oregon football. We're talking about, you know, is Bo Nix healthy? Can he go? Can he be the old Bo Nix? Okay, the offensive line. You know, there were some receivers. Troy Franklin looked like he's hobbling a little bit. So there's some things going on. You got to get healthy. The defense came around and they played well last game. Can they do that again? Can they repeat that? It's all about consistency because you're going against a very good, well-coached Oregon State football team at their house, and they're hungry. And they're looking at you like, no, you know, we're the little brother. We're pissed. We're mad. You know, we get tired of getting stepped on. And so they're coming after you. So is Oregon ready for that? I think they will be ready for that. I think Oregon's going to win. Matter of fact, no. Stop.
Wait. Is he Aaron, is he going to give a...
I don't know.
No.
Does he even know how numbers work?
I know Oregon's going to win because they're going to win 28-14.
It's a monumental moment on Talkin Ducks. I don't even know how to respond to that.
Mm-hmm. Drop the mic.
Woo. Joe, you got
ahead,
this from me.
Fentress.
You need
That's all
a
you.
minute? You need a minute to recover?
I'm good. You go for it, Fentress.
Okay. Well, wow. Number two. Look, if you know, to win a championship, you have to earn it. You know, you can't skate your way to it. You're gonna come up against some tough situations, and this, to me, is an extremely difficult situation. If they go in there and they win this game with Bo Nix, especially not being the Bo Nix we saw through the first 9 games of the season, what have you, that's going to be extremely impressive to me. I don't see it happening. I think Oregon State's just primed for this victory. I can't believe Oregon State's an underdog, to be honest with you. I got it Oregon State 27, Oregon 23. I think it's going to be close, clearly. But I think the absence of Nix as a runner is going to really derail them in this game. Now, if he miraculously makes a comeback and his leg is better and he's out there running around and rushes for 50, 60 yards, then I think they win 27-23 maybe. But right now I'm going with the Beavers to pull off this win and seriously put into jeopardy Oregon's ability to get to the Pac-12 title game.
Wow. Holy man. I don't even know where to go with this. I think as monumental as Anthony's pick was and as completely wrong as Aaron's pick was, I think I'm going to have to go right along kind of where Jordan was. This is going to be a hard-fought game for all of the reasons that everybody has talked about. There's going to be fewer possessions. This is a very good Oregon State defense. An offensive line and Bo Nix, which are banged up. You're on the road. A young running back that Anthony said that is absolutely carrying the load for Oregon State. A defense for the Beavers that creates turnovers. I know what it's like to go to Corvallis with the season on the line. And just because some of us lost, Anthony, doesn't mean that we're not Ducks for life. I also know that I never once threw a touchdown pass against Oregon State. 0. Played them 3 times and had 0 touchdown passes. So here's what's going to happen, is the Ducks are going to be down 23-17 with 2 minutes and 14 seconds left in the game. And Bo Nix, who's going to cement his legacy and do exactly what Aaron Fentress said he wouldn't do, is going to take him down using his legs and then throw a touchdown pass against Oregon State, which I never got a chance to do, so I'm going to live vicariously through him. It's going to be 24-23 Oregon, and all is going to be right in the world. There you go. Amen. Thank you very much. The dealer is out.
I like it. I have to point out the Ducks are 2-1 this season when I pick against them, 2-0 in the Pac-12 when I pick against them. So maybe I just sealed their fate to win this game.
Okay.
All right, fellas, thanks again. Go ahead and take that Thanksgiving nap, and I'll catch up with you guys a little bit later. Oregon State, a chance for the Pac-12 title game for the Ducks, for the Beavers, a chance to play spoiler and to keep their terrific season continuing. Thanks again for joining us. We'll see you guys next week.